So I knew I loved animation and I knew I was detailed oriented. And I knew that I didn't have a lick of talent for drawing. No, it's fine. We know our strengths.
Hello, I'm Jacqueline Coley. Welcome to Scene on the Screen, brought to you by Make It Universal and Rotten Tomatoes, where we talk movies with some of the people behind the scenes at NBC Universal. When entertainment works best, sometimes it opens a window into a world we've never imagined. Other times, it shows us a mirror of our lives with a heightened sense of home. Today, we're going to dig into the question, what have you seen on the screen that has done that? My guest today is Morenike Dosu. Nike, welcome to Scene on the Screen. First, I have to start with the question we ask everyone, which is, I think, the most important. Who are you? And what is your title? And what do you do at NBC Universal?
Ooh, who are you?
I know. That's like your name, basically.
Okay,
we don't have to get too philosophical with it.
I was going there. I was going there. So my name is Morenike Olanriwaju Dosu, but most people do call me Nike. And I have the honor and privilege of being our Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at DreamWorks Animation.
I love that. And so what does that mean as far as like for folks that have no idea what it means when you work in diversity, equity, and inclusion? How would you explain it to me like I'm a 5-year-old?
I love that question because I think so much of language sometimes can get overly complicated. And when we distill it down, like we're 5-year-olds, we get down to like the root of it. And the root of diversity, equity, and inclusion is really just making spaces for people to enter into our field, our animation field, to continue to thrive and be their authentic self, meaning that they feel like they can perform to the best of their potential and ability, and creating an environment where we really support the collaborative nature of animation.
So let's break that down to the more tangible aspects of really what that means when you talk about your team and the programs and the things that y'all do to, again, bring in that sense of welcome among the staff members and then have that reflect in the content and films that we make.
It's so pivotal that we create a space where people can really bring them whole selves. And part of that, for instance, is tapping into our employee resource groups, which are our ERGs. They are spaces where people from particular lived experiences can really find community, can find network, can impact our content, can impact our commerce, can feel like they have a voice. We do that through, we say our DreamWorks campus. We literally call it a campus. It's kind of like a college campus because I feel like, you're walking around and you have such experts in the field, but you also have such a enthusiasm of learning. You have an appreciation of the art. And so we encourage our ERGs, our employee resource groups, to partner with our teamworks, which are like our employee engagements, and have cultural celebrations. We also encourage them to feel free to connect with the filmmakers. It's quite collaborative animation.
Yeah.
I mean, like, honestly, it's one of the reasons why I really appreciate it. But then we bring them in a structured way to have an avenue to, again, see really early content cuts and reflect on their unique lived experience, not as cultural experts, because we also bring in cultural consultants, but as moviegoers and people who, love that process.
Yeah, I love that. This is not a job that I think, when you're in second grade, you're like, this is what I want to do. I know exactly what I'm going to be about. But you came to it through a journey. So I'm curious, what was the journey that brought you into first, maybe just Universal in general, or maybe to the DEI, that's diversity, equity, inclusion space?
Maybe there was the foundation there in second grade or early in life. I knew that I loved animation. I would come home and be able to turn on the TV and just kind of really enjoy escaping into, I wouldn't even say escaping, just enjoy like that process of that storytelling. And then as I got older, high school, I'm supposed to be cool. I'm supposed to be out. I'm supposed to be a high schooler, but I didn't mind coming home and turning on like the afternoon blocks of animation. Some Darkwing Duck or stuff, right?
That is a bop. The theme song
thank you.
is
Go ahead.
Such a bop.
You go ahead.
There's also like this random thing I just want to mention. John Williams' son is like one of the like premier animation singers. You remember like Gummy Bears?
Oh my gosh.
He sang that theme song.
Yes.
That's John Williams' kid. Anyway, I just want to say that like.
But now I can't get it out of my head. And as I talk and I get back on track, all I'm thinking is bouncing here and there and everywhere.
Yeah.
Okay,
there were so many great bops from those afternoon animation shows. But anyway, continue.
Okay, so, and then you see how my face is like lighting up and I'm getting all enthusiastic just even remembering. So I would come home and really enjoy that.
Yeah.
Enjoy that couple hours of just like, you know, being in animation. And then I had younger siblings. And so again, you know, it doesn't, animation people tend to think of it kind of like in that earlier years. So we would have various movies on VHS and be able to kind of like watch them and enjoy them, or Rugrats or whatever it was. And so I knew I loved animation, and I knew I was detailed oriented thanks to my father. And I knew that I didn't have a lick of talent for drawing. No, it's fine. We know our strengths.
Hey,
so I
know where your strengths lie.
Right.
Yeah.
So then, you know, in high school, you're given the question of what do you want to be when you grow up, and kind of just through that research process, I realized that there was a role where I could be a part of animation. I could not have to draw, but then I can also kind of create and foster community in this, you know, collaborative medium where you have all those hundreds of names. They need kind of like the mama bear. Yeah, and that really spoke to me, like being able to help that process happen without necessarily being just the director or the animator.
Yeah.
And so that has been my North Star, which is animation production management, animation producer.
And then that
and
brought
through
you,
that, I've kept being a part of animation production management. Eventually, you know, making my way around the world until I entered into DreamWorks as an artist manager. And then from there, again, a core component, a core through line is fostering environments where people can kind of, you know, connect and collaborate. And that is, again, a core tenet of diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Love that. So today, obviously, we've talked a little bit about you. We're also going to talk about some of the things that you've enjoyed and loved and seen on the screen. And don't feel intimidated, though, because these are things that are going to feel familiar to you. And yes, it is a bit of a quiz. But again, these are things that I feel
you said
know
quiz?
that it's kind of a quiz. Let me put it this way. I'm going to give you a quote. And this is going to be a quote from a movie that you've seen on the screen. And hopefully you're going to remember what it is. But if you're not, I got the answer right here. We're good. So we're good with it. This quote: "Is it possible, or could I have just imagined it? Have my children by any chance been climbing trees today?"
Oh,
I don't have a good Austrian accent.
Sound of Music. The Sound of Music.
The Sound of Music. See, like this is right in your wheelhouse.
Okay.
I love Christopher Plummer.
Okay.
I love him in this movie. Like seriously though, but yeah, Captain Von Trapp. He might have been the first, like one of those first, like, this is different. We think Captain Von Trapp is hot. Let's be real. Like,
I think it's popular opinion.
It's a popular opinion. Talk to me about your relationship with The Sound of Music.
Oh my goodness, that movie was made way before. I'm going to say way before I was.
It's your way before, yes.
Okay,
1965, way before.
Yes, but it was a movie that I don't know how I stumbled into it, but I enjoyed so much growing up. I think it's the themes around recognizing that kids needed to be kids, bringing kind of like that fun back into the home, the bond that they had as a dynamic family. I grew up in, I say that I am a single, an only child. I say that I'm an only child, but I have 7 siblings.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Cousins?
No. Not actually siblings.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah.
Really?
And that's because my parents, they divorced when I was about 2.
Oh, wow.
And so technically I have an older half sibling, and then there's me. And then they both divorced, so I've always kind of bridged 2 families. I stayed with my mom's family in California during the school year, and I would fly back to my dad's Nigerian family, is what I call it, in the summers, right? And so I'm bridging two families, but they both found love again.
Oh, wow.
They both remarried when I was pretty young. So I've always just had two families with so much love there.
Oh, wow.
And from that, then they also had children. So that's why I have another two siblings on my mom's side, and then a younger stepbrother and three younger sisters on my dad's side.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm an actual only child, but I have very close cousins. So that's why I thought, and not like play cousins, like real ones, but my mother's generation is 13 across. So my mother's mother had 13 children.
Okay.
And besides me, all of them had at least 5 kids.
Okay.
To do that math.
That's a fun reunion.
Not all of them had kids, but if they had kids, they had at least 5. So I have a lot of cousins. And so I thought you were going in that direction, but yours is even better. That is such an interesting, literally like very Despicable Me 4 of the like, we've created our new family.
Exactly. And I think part of that is that, that opportunity to again, identify and be your own self within your family, but then still have that love. And then, of course, the romance. Like you can't.
Yeah.
Even when I'm thinking, failed romance, the 16 going on 17, you still had that chance to connect with someone. And yeah, I'm a sucker for romance.
Oh, no, that's a great, we are all sad that Rolf couldn't like fulfill his promise of being a good dude. But
I don't know if I like.
Still a bop.
We won't talk about Rolf.
Still a pop. Mm-hmm. Here we go again. Humans don't feel anything. They're numb from the brain down.
Is that another rom-com, Fern Gully?
Yeah, technically. Also a very, deep environmental treatise on like, the horrors of corporatization and deforestation. But you're right. At the heart of it is, Kira and is it Sam? What's his name? Mac, maybe? I forget the gentleman's name.
Oh my goodness, I'm forgetting the name too.
But either way, they fall in love and I'm with it. And another one with a good bop because we've got Tim Curry singing.
Yes, like talk about villain.
Yeah.
Right?
He's done a lot of good villains.
He's got a villainous voice.
So I don't want to say, I'm not going to try to diminish it. Is it the environmental message that drew you into it? Was it the comedy? Was it the animation? Or was it kind of the mix all together?
I am going to say it's the mix altogether. Because if you think about it, like that was, yes, there's the rom-com, but then there was also like the forest, the new world, right? Mm. Being able to enter into someone else's world. There's the art with the 2D animation, but also like it was an Australian rainforest. So that opening scene with some of the Aboriginal art there. There's the humor in, and Robin Williams.
Yeah.
And Batty. But then, there's the deep sort of environmental message. And then I think for me, this is why I paused and I was like, I don't remember, because it was more about how I felt and what I felt, what that movie provided, what animation or all movies kind of provide are those moments to kind of, again, connect, small moments with my family. So what I remember about Fern Gully is like my sister coming down from college and my younger sister, and we all just putting it on and having like that micro moment of gratitude about being around my family. And we can still right now, I'll say, yo, my name is, and then you're smiling. And so it was just that feeling of belonging and being connected, which I think I try to emulate so much with my day to day.
I think if I remember this correctly, your partner is Australian. Is this correct?
Yes.
And so do y'all have shared sort of like Fern Gully vibes?
I think in hindsight, when I talk about like the romance, my move out to Australia, and I ended up out there for like 10 years. It to me is like a rom-com because I was already going out to Australia. I had my ticket booked. I was working in a bar to try to make up some money. He's flying over to Santa Barbara where we met on a vacation there for a month, staying with the manager of the bars, like, a colleague's home, was there every day. The manager's like, oh, you're going to Australia? You're Australian? You two should meet.
Wow.
And then
That's a meet cute.
20 years later. Yeah.
And how many kids?
20 years and 2 kids.
Wow. That is a meet cute for the
Yeah.
ages. I'm not going to lie to you. That's a pretty good one. Well, that was incredible. You did so well. See, nothing to worry about. And I think this next one, we're going to dive into another popcorn bucket.
Okay.
This is also movies that you've seen on the screen. But for this one, we are actually going to be doing some true or false. So I'm going to give you a statement about a film that you've maybe seen on the screen, and then you have to tell me whether it's true or false. For the 2010 film Legend of the Guardians, Owls of Ga'Hoole, artists designed and created and animated 15 unique species of owls. True or false?
I feel like, you know what? I feel like that might be false, but I don't know. I worked on that film and it felt like there was such specific character design, that there's, such an investment of creating that world. And of course,
you think 15 is too short?
I think 15 might be too small. I think it might be more than that.
I'm going to take your word for it that they probably made more than 15, but 15 were the only ones that made it on screen, because that is true.
Goodness.
Yeah, listen,
species. I didn't know if it was the word species. You got me on the word species.
It was probably more looks than that, but
yeah,
the species,
variations.
right?
Yeah. Okay,
owls
fine.
are crazy too, by the way.
They're creepy.
Like, folks that don't know this, owls don't have bodies. That's just legs and feathers. So, like, if you see an owl wet, it will be the stuff of nightmares. And I say this loving owls, but it is real.
I'm afraid of birds.
Gosh.
Yeah.
But you worked with them a lot. This is not the reason why, though. I would imagine this was maybe made you like owls a little bit more.
No. No,
it's a good thing they're animated. It's a good thing they're animated.
It made me appreciate the animation process, but no, there's still no love for owls.
Oh my gosh. In addition, I will add this. In addition to those 15 owls, Animal Logic's teams of artists designed and created and animated many other forest animals and creatures such as snakes, crows, bats, centipedes, bees, beetles, bugs, moss, a hermit crab, a Tasmanian devil, and of course, an unkidin. Is it that right?
Echidna. Okay.
Oh, echidna. Okay.
Okay.
Girl. Echidna. I wouldn't have never gotten that. I know the character, but I don't remember their name.
That was one of the first movies that I was able to move back into the animation world. And again, remember how I talk about wanting to create spaces where people can bring like their culture and who they are? That was a movie where we brought in so much talent, but it was global talent. It was literally people from around the world. And so, I would have the Spanish crew from Spain, or the Italians, or who I reported into was German. And no matter where you were from, you wanted to create, again, this beautiful content. And then the other beauty of it is that, I think sometimes we work on these projects, and of course I can appreciate the process of it, but then my kids have stumbled upon it of themselves, right?
On their own.
I think maybe too, there was an intentionality, a choice to leave the actors' voices with Australian, accents. So maybe they recognized that. I don't know what it was, but I remember them finding my name in the credit, and it was just like a full circle moment to this, this medium that I loved since I was a kid. Being a part of the process, which I've wanted to and aspired to since I was a kid, appreciating the content that came out, and now my kids appreciating and enjoying it in their own way. And then also having it be a part of Australia, which was like most of my adult years, like, I don't know, moment of gratitude and being able to have that.
Oh, that's so sweet. I mean, I also think like the fact that you're a good parent and didn't sit them down like, look at what she did.
Yeah,
because I would have absolutely been doing that.
Because my kids that would make them not look.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, this is why you're a good parent. The movie Meet the Parents inspired the invention of an actual toilet training tool for cats. True or false?
Oh my goodness. I'm going to say true, just because that sounds fun.
No, that's actually true. The makers of Litter Quitter credit Meet the Parents with inspiring them to develop their invention. Litter Quitters come with plastic rings you put over the toilet seat. Gradually, the hole in the rings gets bigger until, in theory, the rings aren't needed at all. And you've got a cat that uses the toilet. I just want to know who these cats are. I do have to ask this because it is Meet the Parents, which I think is a very, again, it's a universal experience. You had a cultural universal experience with, like, first of all, everything in Australia I think can kill you.
Oh,
so
yes.
I don't even know if you had like I just imagine if I was meeting the parents and my partner was Australian, there'd be like a snake in the background. Like, I don't know, maybe yours was a little bit tamer than that.
Oh, no, there's been a few. Like, I guess everything in Australia kills you. But I think that's part of its charm.
But did you guys have that sort of like fun Meet the Parents moment?
Well, I think, to be fair, this was when I was going to pick up the parent and my husband at the pub.
Oh, wow.
But
that's cultural.
That is right.
That is cultural. Yeah.
And so I was driving back, and it was winter, and I'll be honest with you, I say, I'm just gonna warm my car up for like 5 minutes, and then half an hour later I finally get into the car, and I had like an old car, so it needed to be warmed up, and I'm driving back from the city to where we were living in the Sutherland Shire. The fact that it's called the Sutherland Shire.
Yes, right there.
And he's like, I'm at the pub. Can you come pick us up on the way home? And I was like, absolutely. And it was him and his dad. And it was raining. And so I saw like this leaf, and I was like, oh my goodness, let me just turn on the windshield wiper. But then the leaf kept growing. And I was like, okay, let me actually focus on it. It's because this is odd. And it turned out that it kept growing because it was a king brown snake. And it was in like the hood of the car, and I guess it got too hot because I had been driving too long, and it just kept growing. And I remember like the windshield wipers, I'm kind of driving a little bit erratically, like braking, like maybe that will get it to unstick, and it didn't, and it like came out and turned and looked at me.
Girl.
And I was like, oh, okay. Windshield wiper. It ended up being 6 feet long because it kept going over the driver's side, over the passenger side. And the best part was...
Best part?
Yeah, we haven't gotten to the best part. The best part was I went to go pick up my husband. Like, I called him. I was like, there's a snake on my car. Get a broom, get something. You need to get this off. So he didn't believe me. He thought I was just trying to get him out of the pub quicker. He comes out, schooner glass in hand, his dad's schooner glass in hand, and they look at like, you do got a snake on your car. And this dad like tees it up like he's Crocodile Dundee or something and goes to grab it, right? He misses. The snake slides under the car. They get in the car, and I was like, what were you planning on doing? He said, you crack it like a whip. It snaps his head and is good bush tucker. What does any of that mean?
Yes.
Bush tucker is actually just saying like camping food, like out in the bush. If you grab a snake, because he used to bike from the north of Australia all the way down, you would crack it like a whip.
He would eat it.
And he would eat it.
That is Crocodile Dundee. Like,
Isn't
they ate the snake.
Right. So anywho, yeah.
Bags would have been packed. Bags would have been
But
packed.
then you won't have the story. And then the best part is that
I
tell the
still
story.
Have the story. I tell it on the plane ride home. And this is why we're here. Sorry.
The best part is you tell an Australian and they're like, oh yeah, that happened to my cousin. Or yeah. So everything is actually trying to kill you.
I mean, you know what? Good for you. You are made of stronger stuff. What did you say? Know your strengths?
Yeah.
Mine is the quickness in which I would have been on Expedia. Anyway, last trivia question. Okay. At an hour, 42 minutes, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish is the longest film in the Shrek franchise. True or false?
I believe it.
Yes.
True.
It is true.
I love that.
That movie was so good. It was just perfect. It was like a Christmas holiday break and just feeling like very deep feelings about Puss from Puss in Boots. Like, I was like, this is real. Post-pandemic, midlife, that movie hits really hard. So if you haven't seen Puss in Boots: Last Wish, please see it.
I agree 1,000%. And I think that's part of the beauty of animation is that like sometimes you can hit those deeper themes and deeper topics on almost like a universal level. And I think people are a little bit more receptive to it, Yeah. And so like even that scene with the panic attack, right?
Yeah.
How deep was that? The fact that you're talking about death.
Yeah. Realistically, giving kids this idea of like savoring life as like a lesson in a film that's going to go to kids,
Yeah. But I think the beauty too is that because parents take their kids to it, you want it to, transcend many viewers.
Yeah.
And I think it did a beautiful job of connecting with so many different people.
Yeah. And I will say too, it's another one of those movies where I think sometimes we think we can't give kids darker material, like they're not ready for it. I mean, I was a kid that was raised on like Secret of the NIMH. So like, let's be real. There's dark things that we were brought up on. And I like that this one didn't shy away from it. It was still funny. It was still hilarious. Antonio's great with it, but it talked about, you know, like there's the last sort of scene where he's like, I'm going to live my life. Like that sort of like him riding off into the sunset saying it may be my last life, but I'm still going to do this.
It's worth fighting
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I love too that even like the secondary characters had major sort of connection moments like that. The dynamic between Godi and her family.
Yeah.
You know, I know I said before how I came through blended family, but I have two families because my stepdad never treated me like a stepchild.
Yeah.
Like I have so much love in my life growing up. And it was clear that Mama Bear had that same love for Godi and her brother, like that same love. And then the humor, of course, was there, right? But it was just like those, again, that found family, but that deeper sort of theme.
Don't disagree. You have been an incredible sport through all of this. And I will say it's slightly intimidating because it's like, I don't remember. Is this a trivia question? Yeah. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for taking us on your journey to NBC Universal and all the incredible things that you do in your role. And yeah, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. This has been fun.
It's been fun.